How did you get into the topic of the book, and how did this happen for you?
Well, there was a psychologist who's a research psychologist coined the term, and she had sent me a couple of her academic papers. They were, very, very, not the kind of stuff that was very easy to read. But I saw this term, consequential strangers, and I loved the term because it was, such an oxymoron. How can you be consequential and be a stranger? And really it means acquaintance, but the idea of consequential stranger is that we don't know them that well, so there's the strangerous element. But they're consequential because they really do affect our lives. And I love the term. It really resonated in my own life because I'm a journalist, and how do I get my stories? I speak to people that I hardly know, and I've spoken to lots and lots of them over the course of my career, but I really immediately knew that I said, this is a really good idea. And the other thing was, I had written in my career, I've written about parenting, and I've written about spouses and how you have a good relationship, but it was all about intimate relationships. And I realized immediately no one's written about these casual relationships, and yet they're extremely important. So that was what kind of compelled me to write the book. I was very, very excited about it because not much is written about it.
My last question, and then I just want to know, how do you use your blog? What do you blog about? I know that you use Twitter in many ways, but what exactly people can find in your blog?
Well, it's interesting because this is the first time for this book I blog, and I didn't know in the beginning. I said, what is this blog? What do I blog about? And it turned out that I really like it now because I also have a topic that I open the newspaper and I see an article about GM is going into bankruptcy, General Motors. So everything that I read in the newspaper, just about everything, is related to consequential strangers. Because one of the reasons that General Motors, and this is on my website, you can find this, one of the reasons that General Motors went into bankruptcy is because it really, corporations as much as people need to pay attention to their consequential strangers. So the executives of GM had their own elevator. They'd go in through their own door, up to their ivory tower, where they made rules about the company. They didn't talk to the rank and file. They didn't talk to their suppliers. They didn't talk to their customers. You cannot run a business, especially today, without paying attention to your consequential strangers. And so, for me, blogging is, I look in the newspaper and something, or just anything that happens to me, I'll probably blog about tonight. And today I was at a conference about what's the future of publishing. And it was a bunch of consequential strangers, as this room is, trying to figure out how to do something that's new. I mean, let's face it, we have no role models for what's happening to the world today. If you think about it, when I started writing this book, it was 2006. There was no Twitter. They just were starting to use the word. Facebook was there, but it was really new. People my age were not on Facebook then. It was the kids.
Yeah.
And in 3 years, the world has turned upside down. So we need consequential strangers to help us figure this out. We can't figure it out ourselves. And so that's why the concept to me, blogging has been very easy, much easier than I thought it would be, because the concept really relates to everything we do. I mean, it relates to health. Somebody has a terrible disease like cancer or diabetes. Where do you get help? You don't get it so much from your intimates. I know that sounds terrible. But what you're more likely to get it from is from the doctor, the nurse, the receptionist in your doctor's office, the other patients, the people in your support group. They know what you're going through. And they have different ideas. Now, I have a very good friend, for example, who's diabetic. All of her good friends and her partner, begged her to get the pump. I'm not interested. I don't want anything hanging off my body. She wouldn't even listen to us because it was like background music over and over again. You know how when your loved ones kind of harp on you, you kind of turn it off? She turned us all off. Repeatedly, we'd have this conversation and she would start going, no, don't even start it. One conversation was somebody that she met at a pool in Florida who said, I went on the pump and it changed my life. Suddenly she was open together. Of course, it infuriated all of us, but that happens all the time.
So
Because if you think about it, if a consequential stranger, somebody from your office, you're sick, say you have a really bad cold, you've been out of work, they go to Costco and they buy a lasagna and they bring it to you. Or they make cookies and they bring it to you. God, what an incredible thing that is.
Placebo.
They didn't have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Your loved ones
True.
have to do it. And they're annoying sometimes. But when somebody you don't expect does it, it's like, wow.